Okay. So we'll begin with page 173. Understand whatever he's talking in the first paragraph on 173 is a continuation from 172, where he gave the qualifications for who's really fit to live and who should really, is not fit to live, who should die. So here Vasistha is a little harsh, but this is the way Lord Vishnu has been talking to Prahlada. Yes? And now, on page 173, Lord Vishnu continues talking. Okay, now you can start, page 173. This is pretty simple. Yeah. Basically, Prahlad has reached that state where he has recognized, I am not this body. So Lord Vishnu is telling him, you recognize that you are bodiless. Yeah. As in, the Purusha or the soul does not have a body. Yes. It might be trapped in this body because of its karma back, but still this body is not of the soul. Yeah? So the soul is bodiless. That's what Lord is saying to him. You are the observer, as in the witness, which is immaterial intelligence. Just as though air exists in space, it is not attached to space, and hence it is free from the spatial limitation. Yeah? So you are with this body, but you are not limited really by this body. You are not embodied really. Now taking this one step further, he says, you actually neither live nor do you die. Yeah? Because the soul is, it was, and it will be. So the body, this material flesh and blood and bones, really is not who you are. This is only on account of ignorance. The moment ignorance drops, body will drop. And you will be free from the cycle of coming back into body. Rebirth of the body. You will be free from that. And that's when you realize, oh, there is really no birth and death for me. Because I am not really related to this body. I am not the body. Yeah? So that's what he explains so beautifully. You are the body since you experience sensations through the body. Even as in a manner of speaking, means just like space is responsible for the growth of plant in as much as space does not arrest such a growth. You got it? What he's trying to say? Yeah. In space only the plant really grows, but you cannot say that it is, space has got anything to do with this plant. Yeah. But it's not arresting the growth of the plant. It's just a very beautifully put poetic license, I would call it. That I am not this limitation. This limitation is only of this material existence, which is not what I am. I am beyond this material existence. I am immaterial. Yeah? So this limitation also is an illusion. I neither take birth nor do I die. Yes. Now you can go ahead.
You are enlightened. What is a body or embodiment to you? It is only in the eyes of the ignorant that even your form exists. At all times you are the all. You are the supreme inner light of consciousness. What is body or bodilessness to you? And what can you hold or abandon? Whether it is springtime or the day of cosmic dissolution, they are nothing to one who has transcended the notions of being and non-being. For in all conditions he is firmly established in self-knowledge. Whether all the beings in the universe live or perish, or they prosper, he remains firmly established in self-knowledge. The Supreme Lord dwells in the body, undying when the body dies and unchanging when the body changes. When you have given up the false notions, I belong to the body, or the body belongs to me, there is no meaning in expressions like, I shall give it up, or I shall not give it up. I have done this, and I shall do this now. Enlightened men, though they be constantly engaged in activity, do nothing. It is not by means of inaction that they reach the state of non-action. This very fact of non-action frees you from experiences, for there is no harvest where there is no sowing. When thus both the notions of I do and I experience have ceased, there remains only peace. When that peace is firmly grounded, there is liberation.
Okay. This is all like a repetition of Ashtavakra for you. Yeah? He has said the same thing. I am not the body. When I am not the body, you think, oh, maybe I am the mind. He says you are not even the mind. Yeah? So therefore, it's the body-mind complex that is doing something and experiencing something. When I am not this body-mind complex, I am not the doer and I am not the one who is experiencing all this. Yeah? You have recognized that you are that self, the Purusha, that which is distinct from this body-mind complex. Yeah? I'm just the witnessing consciousness. Till the time I can witness whatever action I do, I will not create karma. But the moment I lose my center, the witnessing consciousness loses itself and gets lost in the objects, the objects of the senses. That moment you start incurring karma. That moment Agami begins. Yeah? So it's very beautifully said here. Prahlad had already reached that state where he was completely established in the center. He was the witness consciousness. Yeah? So he says, what is a body or embodiment to you? It is only in the eyes of the ignorant that even form exists. Yeah? Only somebody who's still lost in this material world, who still cannot distinguish between the self and the body. Yeah? He's what Lord is calling the ignorant. At all times, you are the all. You are the supreme inner light of consciousness. What is body or bodilessness to you, and what can you hold or abandon? When you recognize I am not this body, then any relationship of this body, also spouse, child, friend, husband, wife, parent, that also attachment drops off, because that is only related to this body, no? Yeah? Before this, there were so many different bodies, and they had their own parents and children and siblings and spouses. And after this, there will be so many. Yeah? This realization, this awakening, yeah, helps you drop this attachment to this body and to that which is of this body. Yeah? spouse of, child of, parent of this body. Yeah? So you drop, you move away from body, you move away from bodilessness even. Yeah? Because bodilessness has to do with the notion of body, no? Both you drop. Yeah? Just in that nothingness, in that purity is where you rest. And then, of course, actions happen through the body because you are still living in this. This body is still not dead. So actions will happen. But how are they? Actions in which I do not incur any karma. Yeah? So it is non-action or akarma. You remember we did that in last year's Bhagavad Gita session? Yeah? Move from karma to akarma. So akarma is non-action. It's different from inaction. Yeah? Here he has given you in the next paragraph. Enlightened men, though they are constantly engaged in activity, do nothing. It is not by means of inaction that they reach the state of non-action. What does this mean? I will not do anything. I will sit on the couch. Yeah, let me see if I get enlightened. This is inaction. Yeah, we are not talking about inaction. Being in the world, doing whatever you are doing as a friend, as a spouse, as a parent, as a businessman, as an employee, doing everything, but recognizing it is all happening at the periphery. I am very centered and I do not do anything. I am nothing, I want nothing, and I do nothing. This recognition, just this recognition helps you remain and stay in that center again and again. Your mind will tend to get lost in the world of five senses, again and again coming back to the center. This is your responsibility. And when you start living in that center, Ashtavakra 33, living in the center, when you start living in that center continuously, all actions are just at the periphery. They are spontaneous. They are not out of raga or dvesha. Therefore, I do not create any karma. Because I am a witness to all that is happening. That is the state of non-action. And it is different from inaction. Got it? Definitely an exam question, huh? Difference between inaction and non-action. This very fact of non-action frees you from experiences. For there is no harvest where there is no sowing. What does he mean by this? What does it? Perfect. An experience that I get attached to creates an impression, either a positive impression or a negative impression inside my karma bag. Yeah? These are nothing but experiences that I've got attached to. Attached is both. Either I like them or I dislike them. Yes? So, where there is no sowing, there is no harvesting. Got it? So, there is no creation of any agami karma. When thus both the notions of I do and I experience have ceased, there remains only peace. When that peace is firmly grounded, that is liberation. Yeah? So now it has to be a firm grounding. Not that 5 minutes I am here or 20 minutes I am here in a day when I meditate, the rest of the 24 hours, 40 minutes I am out in the world lost. No. A constant coming back. Yeah, it will slip away. It's like a little child. Yeah? You have to again bring it back. Again it is going to slip away. Again bringing it back. Finally this slipping away will reduce. And slowly, slowly it will completely stop. And this is called being established in the center. Whether you're at work, whether you're with friends, doesn't matter. Everything is at the periphery. My talking, my saying something, not saying something, explaining something, doing an action, everything is at the periphery. Every single action. I am in the center. I am just witnessing what is happening. That only will lead to liberation. Clear? The middle paragraph, which we just skipped, the Supreme Lord dwells in the body, undying when the body dies and unchanging when the body changes. Here Lord is nothing but the Purusha or the Self, which was, which is and which will be. When you have given up the false notions, I belong to the body or the body belongs to me, there is no meaning in expressions like I shall give it up or I shall not give it up. I have done this and I shall do this now. Very beautiful, huh? When you start living in the center, everything becomes a happening. Rather than, oh, I did this or I shall do this. It's an automatic shift that happens inside. Where this happened and this is happening. And what has to happen will happen. Even in your thought process, that doing doesn't come up. Even in thoughts, the word do does not exist. It's just a happening. Yes, for the purposes of social conversation, you might use the word do, but inside there is a firm understanding that it is all a happening. That I am not the doer, I am not the experiencer. Then all this drops away. I have to do this and I shall do this, and how will I make this happen? Why, I do not exist. It will all happen. It becomes very easy to live life then. And let's go to the last paragraph.
Of subject and object have seized that there is liberation. Such enlightened persons as you are live in this world as if they are forever in a state of deep sleep. Likewise, O Prahlad, perceive this world as if you are half asleep. Enlightened beings do not exult in pleasure nor grieve in pain. They function non-volitionally. Even as a crystal reflects the objects placed near it without intending to do so. They are fully awake in self-knowledge, but they are asleep, as it were, in relation to the world. They function in this world like children, without ego sense and all the rest of its retina. O Prahlad, you have reached the plane of Vishnu. Rule the netherworld for a world cycle.
This is very beautiful, huh? Where he so beautifully says that you just live as if you are in a state of deep sleep. You remember in Ashtavakra also he said, the fourth state. Yeah? Do you remember? Not the fourth state of consciousness. He didn't talk about the fourth state of consciousness. But just the fourth state he said. Where you are as if you are in sleep. We had talked a little about this, that even when you are really asleep in the night, it is as if you are completely aware. You are even aware you are turning right, you are turning left. A constant awareness. And that constant awareness is there during the day. It doesn't matter how physically tired this piece of flesh is. There is a constant awareness that has got nothing to do with the body, mind and its fatigue. Remember? That constant awareness and that constant joy. That is what happens when you get to this center, when you start living in this center. And that state is like deep sleep. So we learn in Bhagavad Gita also, where Lord Krishna says that the wise one or a yogi is how when a common man is asleep, he is awake. And when a common man is awake, a yogi is asleep. It does not mean that he sleeps during the day and is awake during the night. It's got nothing to do with day and night. It's got to do with how a common man gets lost in the objects of the senses. That's where a yogi is asleep. All these objects of senses do not create any raga or dvesha in him. There is no turbulence within because of any dvesha or any raga. Not a ripple within. Absolutely still the lake is. As if it is the fourth state of constant awareness and constant joy, which cannot be affected by these five sense objects. So he is asleep in relation to this five sense objects that can actually cause turbulence in a person, in a regular person. Got it? And when the regular person is actually asleep, the yogi is aware and awake. Where is a regular person asleep? He is ignorant about the Purusha, about the self. This is the meaning of a person, a common person who is asleep. He is not aware of the Purusha. He is only lost in the Prakriti. Got it? How it is.
I understand during the day.
Loudly. What?
During the day I can understand reaching that state of constant awareness. But then, things are happening. It's happening live. In sleep, you're just asleep. Wouldn't it be boring to just be in awareness where you're just laying there and I don't understand that concept.
See, when you learn to recognize I am not this body, it's not just during the waking hours. Even during sleep, I am not the body. And you're aware that the body is resting. But the awareness is a constant. It does not vary. For a regular person, his awareness is up during the day and completely zero at night. The up and down happens in awareness. Sometimes in the middle of the day when you are really sleepy after a heavy lunch, again your awareness is low. So for a common man, it is up and down. But for a yogi, it's a constant state of awareness and a constant state of joy. That is why... Because there is a constant state of joy, there is no room for boredom. So,
I think the constant state of awareness is when you're actually tapped, you're plugged into the consciousness. Just think of it that way. and the consciousness itself is vibrant and is everything at all times. And when you are in that constant state of awareness, there is no boredom. It just is. So when you are in that state, there is no sleep or wakefulness, because it is that. It's being plugged into that.
Lovely, no? You understood? Yeah. Enlightened beings do not exult in pleasure nor grieve in pain. They function non-volitionally. Yeah, so the graph does not go up or down, up or down. Yeah, non-volitional again is similar to not having raga and dvesha. Yeah? It's just happening spontaneously. Life is just a happening. There is no volition to do this or not do this, or this should be like this or this should not be like this. This is right and this is wrong. Yeah? This is called volition. Yeah? Devoid of the seeking, that is non-volitionally. Just like a crystal reflects the objects placed near it without intending to do so. They are fully awake in self-knowledge, but they are asleep, as it were, in relation to the world. They function in this world like children without ego sense and all the rest of its retinue. O Prahlad, you have reached the plane of Vishnu. Rule the netherworld for a world cycle. We'll go to page 174 and read it quickly. Who's going to read?
Prahlad said, Lord, I was really overcome by fatigue, and I took rest for a brief moment. By your grace, I have attained to the realization in which there is no distinction between contemplation and non-contemplation. You were seen by me for a long time within myself. Luckily, you are now seen in front of me. I have experienced the truth of the infinite consciousness within myself, in which there is no sorrow, no delusion, no concern with dispassion, no desire to abandon the body, and no fear of this world appears. When the one single reality is known, where is sorrow, where is distrust, what is fear or its absence? I was in that state of consciousness which spontaneously arose in me. Oh, I am disgusted with this world and I shall abandon it. Such thoughts arise only in the ignorant. Only the ignorant think that there is sorrow when there is body, and there is no sorrow once the body is abandoned. This is pleasure, this is pain, this is not. Only the mind of the ignorant swings like this, not of the wise. Notions of I and the other exist only in the minds of the ignorant who have left wisdom far behind. This is to be acquired and this is to be abandoned. Such thoughts arise only in the minds of the ignorant. When everything is pervaded by you, there is another which can be acquired or abandoned. The entire universe is pervaded by consciousness. What is to be acquired and what abandoned? I was naturally
So main part here is Prahlad's self-inquiry. The main part here is the second paragraph where Prahlad is doing his own self-inquiry. Yeah? So he had gone deep into a state of samadhi where he was just contemplating on these questions. Yeah? That who says, oh, I'm disgusted with this world, I'm disgusted with this body. Yeah? And thinks that sorrow is equal to this body. When I leave this body, there will be pleasure. Yeah? This is again an ignorant thinking. An ignorant person who has not realized that he is not the body. So whether he is in this body or out of it, it is the same. It's not different. Yeah? So there is no dukkha associated with the body for the wise one. Yeah? That is why Siddhas, yeah, like Gurudev and other beings who are the perfected beings, they come back in body, yeah, just to spread this knowledge. They come back. Why? Because they do not equate body with dukkha. You see the deep meaning in this paragraph? Yes, only an ignorant person who thinks, oh, once I leave this body, oh, it's going to be all pleasure. Heaven is going to be mine. Yeah, this is an ignorant man's thinking. This is pleasure, this is pain, this is not. Only the mind of the ignorant swings like this, not of the wise. Notions of I and the other exist only in the minds of the ignorant, who have left wisdom far behind. Yeah? Again, I and other is nothing but duality, Dvait. Yeah? So when you keep getting lost in Dvait, you're always going to be ignorant of the Purusha, of the self, because you believe in the existence of the other, the Prakriti. When you recognize this Prakriti and Purusha is not two separate, it's one and the same, just different colors coming out from the same white light, red and blue, does not make the white light, not the source. There is actually just one, or actually the best way to say it is no two. Yeah? Advait. When everything is pervaded by you, where is another? Which can be acquired or abandoned? This is also from Ashtavakra. Yeah? What do you want? Yeah? Grinnati. Yeah? And what do you want to abandon or reject? Yeah? It is all the same. There is no two. Yeah? So all this was Prahlad's inquiry. That is the beauty of this page, just that one paragraph. And then Lord Vishnu got him out of his inquiry and made him the king of the netherworld, and he could rule for a very long time. He was blessed with that. Yes, and also that the gods and goddesses would now exist in harmony with the demons and the demonesses. Yeah, as in, there's no god and goddesses up in the sky and demons, and there's not a war going on. Don't get again into that beautiful mythological part of it. It's just that in me only, the ego and the anger and negativity will all quieten down. Yeah? And the calmness and the beauty of the world will be actually emanated in joy, in love, in compassion. Let's go to the last page of this semester, page 175. Who's reading it?
I can read it.
the state of Prahalada. Hence, he awoke to the sound of the conch. O Rama, reach the vision which Prahalada had and engage yourself in ceaseless inquiry. You will reach the supreme state.
Okay. So what he
Rama
asked?
asked, Holy Sir, you said that
We'll
Prahalada...
wait for the question, Venkat. Let's just complete the first question. Yeah? So the first question is that how come he was, even though he was in that highest state, yeah, in that awakened state, how did you bring him out of it just with the sound of the conch? So again, I've told you this in the Buddha story also long back, if you remember, that while being in this body, you can get enlightened. Yeah? So you are enlightened within this body. So when you are enlightened within this body, how it is, now I still have the seeds, right, of all the past karmas because of which this body has come. Yeah? So all these seeds are like fried seeds. Basically, they will never sprout in future. That's what happens at enlightenment within the body. The same happened to Janaka. Yeah? You remember, Janaka was called Videha Mukta. Remember this? Yeah? Which meant that being in the body, he got enlightened. Yes? And when he left the body passed away from the world, he was enlightened after the body or without the body, however you want to put it. Yeah? So, you remember there are 5 sanchitas which cannot be erased. One of them is death. So death of this body, that is decided. So before that particular date, when you get enlightened, you will still continue to live till that date. Yes? But the other seeds of everything that, or raga, dvesha, whatever was there in the bag, in your process of meditation, in your process of going through self-knowledge, in your process of self-inquiry, they all become nothing but like fried seeds. Yes, but you will still go through the longevity of that particular body. That is decided. That cannot be changed. You get it? And when you move on, then you get the freedom whether you want to come back or don't want to come back in body. Yes? Which would not happen to this particular individual if he had not got enlightened before death. So, in the case of Prahlada, he was still in the body, in this phase after getting enlightenment, but before leaving the body, this period. Yeah, that is why he could be awakened out of his deepest samadhi or the highest level of consciousness that he had reached. Similar story was of Lord Buddha. I don't remember the farmer's name in the story, but I think Subhadra or something like that. And he was always busy during Buddha's visit to the village, and so he kept saying, oh, next time when Buddha comes I will visit him, next time I will visit him. And it was towards when Buddha was, towards the fag end of his life, that he kept postponing, Subhadra kept postponing meeting Buddha. And then he found out that Buddha is on the way to pass away. It's his last few moments. He found that out and he started running. And he really reached there. And it is said that Buddha had left the body. So he had left the physical body. He had almost crossed over the subtle body to the causal body. But he had not left that also. He had just crossed over the subtle body. And Subhadra's cry was so genuine, that it is said that Buddha came back to the physical body, actually opened his eyes, blessed him, and then left. It's just a story. We don't know what is truth, what is not. Whatever is recorded, we know. But it's a way of telling you that this period between enlightenment and complete letting go of the body is a very beautiful phase. It's an amazing phase in which you can actually be brought back also. Because of that constant awareness, that fourth state of constant awareness and constant joy, you can be brought back. That's exactly what his answer is here. So now let's look at it. O Rama, liberation is of two kinds, with body and without body. That state of liberation in which the mind is totally unattached to anything and in which there is no craving at all is known as liberation with body. That itself is known as liberation without body when the body drops. In the case of liberation with body, all tendencies and mental conditionings are like fried seeds, incapable of giving rise to future embodiment. But there still remains the conditioning of such purity and expansiveness. Knowledge, being in meditation, that also leaves seeds, right? Those are still there. Yeah? Though even this conditioning is unintentional and non-volitional. It's not out of raga and dvesha. Then you're just meditating because it is your nature. Yeah? Buddha was asked, you're already enlightened, why do you meditate? Yeah? And Buddha says, I'm not doing anything. It is just happening. I'm just being with my nature. Yeah? So it is non-volitional, it is unintentional. As in a sleeping person, as long as this trace remains, the sage who is liberated with body can be awakened. Yeah, this period between getting enlightened in body and that death. Yeah? During this phase, that trace remains. Yes? And till the time the trace remains, he can be awakened to world consciousness, even after 100 years of inward contemplation. You've heard about yogis who go into samadhi for thousands of years and their body is preserved, nothing happens, and then they come back. Yeah? So it is something similar. Such was the state of Prahlad, and hence he awoke to the sound of the conch. And Vasistha saying to Rama that you reach that vision of Prahlad. Yeah? You engage yourself in ceaseless inquiry. Then only will you reach the supreme state. So homework for you. You have been on this path so many years. Yeah, you've been in Art of Living 5 years, 10 years, some people 15 years. Yeah? In all these years, have you reached the first milestone? The first milestone is of self-inquiry. Who am I? What is all this? Is my mind lost in this should be, this shouldn't be, this is right, this is wrong? Has self-inquiry started happening? That's the first milestone. If that has still not started happening, guys, you're still on the first step of the staircase. It's a very long staircase. And you're just on the first step. So start going beyond just reading a scripture like this. Just reading all the scriptures, knowing all of them, even by heart, is not going to help. Running behind a guru, doing all the courses is not going to help. All these are signposts telling you self-inquiry. Self-inquiry. That is the only way. If you are still stuck onto my finger and holding onto my finger, not looking at what I am pointing at, it's of no use. So this is one question for you. Most of you are going to do the silence course. Yeah? I want you to think, contemplate, who am I? Big deal. What raga and dvesha I have for this person and what I have raga and dvesha for this situation. Who am I? Am I really this body? Keep 100% silence and go within. Because if you've not started on the path of self-inquiry, you have not started the path. You're just standing right at the entrance. It doesn't matter whether you've been here for 5 days or 15 years. You're still at the entrance if you have not started self-inquiry. Doesn't matter whether you're a teacher or a pandit of all these scriptures and know them by heart. Or the best volunteer or the person who has donated the maximum to an NGO. Doesn't matter. Doesn't count. Only one thing counts. Self-inquiry. A scripture, a master or a guru, all meditations, all charity, all the good deeds, all this knowledge, all this is just a signpost telling you to move in that direction of self-inquiry. And if you've not started moving, guys, you are still standing at the entrance. So start looking within now. Yeah, enough of running around with all this beautiful paraphernalia. Yeah, but the mind is still stuck. It was stuck in the material world, people and situations and things, and now it is stuck on the spiritual things. Spiritual things are scriptures. Spiritual people are teachers and Gurudev and all this, whatever, paraphernalia that you see here in Art of Living. You are still stuck. Same thing is happening. Recognize this is happening to me. I need to go beyond people, situations and things. Doesn't matter whether in the material world or on the spiritual side. They are not two different aspects. Let me drop this and let me really utilize this advanced course, this silence course for self-inquiry. Go into the silence course as if you are alone. You do not even need to look up and smile at somebody. If you trip on somebody, you do not even have to say a sorry. Ignore completely. You are alone by yourself there. Look down and walk. You've forgotten your toothbrush? Go without a toothbrush for the next 4 days. You will not ask anybody. No writing on chits, no texting, no emails. The world is not going to end if you do not respond to anybody until Sunday night. Really, the world is not resting on your shoulders. Take this opportunity to completely go within. 100% begin this journey of self-inquiry if you have still not begun. Yeah, take this inspiration from Prahlad. Read these few pages and go. But again, during the silence, you will not even read. No reading, no texting, no emails, nothing. Just being with the mind. However tortured you get by your own mind. Be with yourself and see how boring you are as company. Yeah? When you hit the bottom of boredom, being with your own mind, that's when you will start rising up. So sincerely do this silence course. Yeah? And those who are not going for the silence course, it doesn't matter. You still begin self-inquiry. Otherwise you will say, oh, that homework was only for the people who were going for silence course. No. It's for everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're going to the silence course or not. If you've not begun self-inquiry, you are still standing at the door. Gurudev is right at the top of the staircase. You're just looking at him from down. No use. He's saying, come up, I want to hold your hand. But you are so lost. Lost in scriptures, lost in people, lost in things. Yeah, lost in politics sometimes. Yeah. Drop everything drop. It is all seeking. Yeah? Just start self-inquiry. Otherwise, the journey has not begun. Now we'll go to the last paragraph. Okay, read the last paragraph now.
Vasistha replied, surely whatever Prahlada attained was through self-effort, or Rama, not otherwise. Vishnu is...
Ask the question first. No, read the question first, please.
Oh, sorry. Rama asked, Holy Son, you said that Prahlada attained enlightenment by the grace of Lord Vishnu. If everything is achieved by self-effort, why was he not able to attain enlightenment without Vishnu's grace? Vasistha replied, surely whatever Prahlada attained was through self-effort, O Rama, not otherwise. Vishnu is the self and self is Vishnu. The distinction is verbal. At times one attains self-knowledge through self-inquiry, undertaken through self-effort. At times this self-effort manifests as devotion to Vishnu, who is also the self, and thus one attains enlightenment. Even if one worships Vishnu for a long time with great devotion, he does not bestow enlightenment on one who is not wise with self-knowledge. Thus, the foremost means of self-knowledge is self-inquiry, grace, and such other factors are secondary means. If you think that Lord Vishnu can be seen without self-effort, why do the birds and beasts not get uplifted by him? If it is true that the Guru can spiritually uplift the one without the need for self-effort, then why does a Guru not to uplift a camel or a bull? Hence, adore the self by the self, worship the self by the self, behold the self by the self, and firmly established by the self is the self.
Yeah, got it? Only through self-inquiry. There is no other means. He explained it also. There are two ways, he said. One is through self-knowledge, Gyan Marga. But even Gyan Marga will end at love or devotion. Yeah? Second is through devotion. Somebody who is a bhakt. Yeah? He's so much in love with the consciousness. He also starts walking this path. But if he does not meet Jnana, he does not get enlightened. Do you get it? So, Jnana, okay, let's read it. Surely whatever Prahlad attained was through self-effort, O Rama, not otherwise. Basically, without self-effort, not possible. Vishnu is the self, and self is Vishnu. The distinction is verbal. Yeah? So you do not really have to worship a Lord Krishna, Lord Rama, or Lord Vishnu. It is the Purusha, or the Brahman consciousness. At times, one attains self-knowledge through self-inquiry. Self-inquiry is this only. Yeah? Identifying my raga and dvesha, yeah? Dropping it. I am going beyond the body. It doesn't matter if I don't get this. I don't have to keep running behind this. What do I get by running behind this? This understanding, this is self-inquiry, which happens on the path of knowledge. This is the path of knowledge. Yeah? So, self-knowledge happens only through self-inquiry, not by reading. If you're just reading and not doing self-inquiry, then you are still not started walking on the path of knowledge. You're still standing at the door of Gyan Marga. Got it? Got this line? At times one attains self-knowledge through self-inquiry, undertaken through self-effort. Of course, there's effort required. Yeah? At times, which is another possible way of attaining it. This self-effort manifests as devotion to Vishnu, means it is bhakti yoga. Yeah? Some people are completely in love with the Purusha, the self. They may call it Lord Krishna, Rama, doesn't matter, Guruji, doesn't matter. They are total bhakts, yeah? Devotees. At times this self-effort manifests as devotion to Vishnu, who is also the self. And thus one attains enlightenment. So it's either Gyan Marga or Bhakti Marga. But even if one worships Vishnu for a long time with great devotion, he does not bestow enlightenment on one who is not wise with self-knowledge. Means even a bhakt has to come and get into self-knowledge and self-inquiry. Both meet. We have discussed this before. Though the paths begin at two different places, one is Gyan Marga or the path of knowledge and the other is Bhakti Marga, the path of devotion. Both have to meet at self-inquiry. There is no other way. This is the first milestone. I told you, no? The first milestone is your self-inquiry has begun. It doesn't matter which way you came. Without self-inquiry, there is no enlightenment. It's not happening. Got it? Thus, the foremost means for self-knowledge is self-inquiry. Got it? The sentence ends there. Grace and such other factors are only secondary. Yeah? People say, no, Guru's grace is there. Guruji will bless me. I will get enlightened if I have to get enlightened. But I don't put in any self-effort or any purushartha. Nothing is going to happen. Forget about it. No. Blessings are not going to come to you through the ceiling. Yeah? If you attended Kena Upanishad last weekend, Guruji said that if you do not have the patrita, you are not that vessel. Yeah? Patrita is containment. You will not be able to contain Gurudev's blessings also. If you don't have the patrita for self-inquiry or self-knowledge, you will not be able to even contain the blessings. You will just be like a sieve that has lots of holes and all the blessings also will come out. He said that in Kena Upanishad last weekend. So, recognize this. Your patrita is determined by the first milestone of self-inquiry. If it has not happened, this is the time. Start walking. Yes. Without that, you are still right at the beginning. If you think that Lord Vishnu can be seen without self-effort, why do the birds and beasts not get uplifted by him? If it is true that Guru can spiritually uplift one without the need for self-effort, then why does the Guru not so uplift a camel or a bull? Yeah, understand that. A Guru will only uplift somebody who is really making that self-effort. I will give a glass of water to somebody who says, yes, I'm thirsty, please give it to me. It's no use giving it to somebody who's not interested in the glass of water. Do you get this? A Guru also blesses only the person who is doing his self-inquiry, his self-effort. Yeah? Otherwise, blessings are just going to drain through. Yeah? As if you are a sieve. Blessings are coming, but they will drain through because you are not a patra. Yeah? You are not a vessel that can contain them. So think about this. I want you to very sincerely look within now. It's really high time. Hence, adore the self by the self. Worship the self by the self. Behold the self by the self. and firmly established by the self in the self. Yeah? Basically, live in the center. Yeah? Constantly being here, constantly being here. Everything is happening. I am not doing, I don't have to do, and nothing have I done. It is all happening. Yes. So that completes for this semester, which means your exam is coming up. Yes. So I want you to study. Yeah. Next week again we'll meet and we'll study together on Google Hangout. But there is a lot of syllabus to complete. So before next week, at least read your semester 1 and semester 2 answer papers. Complete them. Just your answer papers. So you will have read the book till page 120 by reading your own answer papers. Yeah. So complete that, and when next Wednesday we meet, we can start revising after page 120. Yeah? Okay. Anybody has any other questions? Don't forget your homework on self-inquiry. I'm really serious this time. Yeah? You guys really need to pull up your socks now. If really self-inquiry is not happening, it's no use. Absolutely no use. So start working on that this week. Irrespective of whether you're going to the silence course or not. Irrespective of whether you're a volunteer or a participant in that course. Just sincerely look within. The mind has this biggest fear of looking within. That is the problem of the mind. Doesn't matter. You become completely naked and stand in front of the mirror. This is what I am. It doesn't matter how harsh the reality seems to you. That is self-inquiry. Yeah? So don't forget, this is very important for self-growth. Otherwise you're still standing at the door. If there is no self-inquiry, you're still standing at the door. Yeah? Wake up. Treat this as a wake-up call. So entire week, start studying right from Yoga Vasistha page 1. All those who have missed sessions, all the videos are uploaded to the playlist. Please come up to speed. Yeah? Full week, make an attempt to come up to speed. Read, study, do some self-inquiry. Yeah? And I'll see you next week. Okay? Jai Gurudev.